Now the cocaine comes to America. So now they turn it around and saying, well, what are we going to do with all this coke? That was Reagan. That's exactly who it was. And let me ask you something. How much time did Reagan do? You understand? Reagan died of old age. Reagan died a healthy old man in his bed. That's how Reagan died. And guess what? Reagan and George Bush took all the cocaine and they flooded the ghetto with it.
You mean everything to Christ, and Christ means everything to me.
I called on the Lord. I said, man, Father, this is real. Will you watch over them? Will you raise them up to be strong? I'm just a man with flesh. This is what you called for in your scriptures. You said they wore studs and fringes, they got it on. You said they will follow the law, they doing it. You said under your house shot they ought to love one another, and they doing it.
Be like them, you want to be a gangster. You think Donald Trump is a gangster. Donald Trump is a gangster. You understand, black man, you ain't supposed to be no gangster. You sell drugs, you get 15 years. The white man sell drugs, he's the head of the CIA. His name is George Bush Sr. You think you a real drug dealer? The white man's a real drug dealer. You understand? You think you a real killer because you done dropped 3 of your ops. You understand? The white man got bodies. He'll turn around and he'll give everybody syphilis. You understand? He'll turn around, he'll find your biggest warriors, you understand, and put blankets on them with smallpox. He got chemical warfare. But you think you a gangster. You think you hard. You think you big meat. You understand? Meanwhile, George Bush was big meat's supplier. That's really the plug. You want to talk about the plug? The plug is the CIA. You really nickel and diamond out here. Read what you got.
This is Revelations, chapter 18 and verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people.
Come out of her, my people, because they ain't going to go to jail. You are. You understand? They going to make the laws behind it. And they going to persecute you when you break them laws. Come out of her, my people. Like, how much time did Oliver North do? Y'all don't even know who Oliver North is. You understand? How much time did Ronald Reagan do? You want to be educated on that? I'll break it down for you right now. You understand? There was something known as the Iran-Contra scandal. And during this time, the American government couldn't get a budget in order to get some weapons to fight over in Iran. So you know what they did? They decided, here's what happens. The CIA and America wants to colonize everybody. And the people that they can't go directly to war with, they create an enemy within and divide their own people. So they find somebody who's going to be loyal to democracy. And now they create a guerrilla military unit, you understand, known as the Contras. And America is going to give them weaponry so they can overthrow the government and they can put a puppet in that they can control. Now, let's go a step further. Let's walk a little bit further down the block right now. So now, the Contras are poor. They're in a third world country. They're living in the jungle. What do they have? Well, what's in the jungle? Plants. What plants, thank you sis, are indigenous to those lands? Ah, the coca plant. Yayo. Cocaina. You understand? Colombian gold. So now, they take the cocaine and they trade the weapons for cocaine. Now the cocaine comes to America. So now they turn it around and saying, well, what are we going to do with all this coke? That was Reagan. That's exactly who it was. And let me ask you something. How much time did Reagan do? You understand? Reagan died of old age. Reagan died a healthy old man in his bed. That's how Reagan died. And guess what? Reagan and George Bush took all the cocaine and they flooded the ghetto with it. You know what they said? They said, we got some niggas in Spicks to sell it to. Now, let's take it a step further. In 1994, one of the members of the presidential cabinet, John Ehrlichman, he turned around and he said that the war on drugs was really a war on black and Hispanics. He said we couldn't make it illegal to be against the war. So we took hippies and we let them be identified as weed heads. And now we could break up their protest. So then we took heroin and we made the ghetto associated with heroin. Do you know that the prison population jumped to 300,000? And who do you think the prison was filled with? You understand? Now, how many of y'all seen the movie American Gangster? We understand with Denzel. Man, that boy, that Denzel, he a good actor, ain't he? But let me ask you something. What type of planes was Denzel flying all that heroin into America? Oh, you mean to tell me it said property of the U.S. government on the side of them planes? Oh, you mean the military was dealing drugs? Right. And then had a black man come and flood Harlem with heroin? Yes. Oh, you mean that's how it works? Because let me hip you to something else. There is no drug enforcement agency that is not dealing drugs. Right. You can't run a successful operation without drugs because that's going to fuel the economy. So now let's fast forward. Now we're at the Iran-Contras. They start bringing the coke in. Then they rock it up. You understand? And now we get addicted to crack cocaine. And guess what? The white boys in Hollywood is doing the powder. We doing the rock because it's cheaper. So you know what they say? Let's give anybody caught with X amount of rock more time. So now 1985 rolls around and guess what? It's the Anti-Drug Act of 1985. And guess what happens? Simultaneously in 1985 with the Anti-Drug Act, because the Anti-Drug Act says you get caught with crack cocaine, you do a minimum of 10 to 15 years fed time with no probation, no parole. You do it every year. Why? Oh, because you mean to tell me that's the same time frame that the prison system became privatized? You mean that's the same time that the prison system became an IPO, which is now traded on the stock market? Ooh. So now, let me ask y'all something. Let's walk this dog a little further. Let's talk about it. Here's what happens now. Slavery was only ratified under the clause that you did not commit a crime, which means if you get arrested, let this noise pass. Which means if you get arrested, you are now institutionalized into slavery. Which means that now I can pay you 30 to 50 cents a day to work for me. And that's what they're doing in the prison system right now. You know, you catch an F, you go to jail, you work in the prison system. You're going to work for, back then you used to work for AT&T, IBM, press license plates, whatever the case may be. Because you know what the #1 expense in business is? Payroll. So now if I ain't got to pay you $15 an hour and I could pay you 50 cents a day, that means I'm making in my contract $14.50 off you an hour on top of the profit. Because that's slavery. That's how it is. That's how it goes. Now let's take it a step further. Let's go just a little bit further. Now, as if the Anti-Drug Act of 1985 isn't enough. As if sewing military uniforms for $15 a day isn't enough. Now here come the Clintons in the 90s. At the height and the peak of the crack epidemic. And what do they institute? The 3-strike law. So that now, if you're a 3-time loser, you know what happens? You get to go away and work for them for life. Now go vote. Now go vote. Now go vote for the Democrats and the Republicans. Now go put somebody else in the trap house. Excuse me, I mean the White House. Go do that. You understand? Or you could do this. Read that scripture again.
This is Revelation chapter 18 and verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins.
That we be what?
not partakers of her sin.
Because the Lord is going to deal with us first, because we're his children. You punish your child, not the neighbor's child. We're God's chosen people. Why do you think we're the best at everything? Why do you think Simone Biles been coming home with the gold for the last 12 years? You understand? Why do you think the best boxers, past, future, and present, is black and Hispanics? Why do you think that we run everything that we do? Because God put his blessing on us. And that's why every other nation hates us. That's why every other nation has a byword for us. That's why they all can't stand us. Because they see God's favor shining through on us. You know what the problem is, though? We want to take it for granted. We instead of every black person always talks about, I'm a king, I'm a queen. You understand? Well, here's the problem. God don't want you to be a kingpin in the drug game. God don't want you to be a twerk queen. That's the problem. And you know where we learned this from? We learned this from them. The whole point of why I got up here in the first place was to say, you're not no drug dealer. Let white people deal drugs. You understand? You know why there's an opium epidemic? Because white people are ODing. That's why. Because the Fetty is killing white boys too. They didn't care when the crack had us. They locked us up. They split up our families. They put us in foster care. Our children got molested. They destroyed us. We had crack babies, birth defects, children being born deaf and blind. It's only a problem when some white people start dying. Well, I'm sorry, I don't cry over spilt milk. Alright? It don't work like that. I got love for me and mine. Read.
Verse, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people.
Come out of her, my people. Don't be a Democrat. Don't be a Republican. You better come over here and grab a flyer and find out what God called you.